Welcome back to another exciting episode of The Horn Call, the official podcast of the International Horn Society. I am Kate Warren, and our other host is
James Bolden. I'm the publications editor for the IHS. And Kate, you can now say you will be a member of the Advisory Council. Yeah.
By the time this airs, I will have joined the Advisory Council for the IHS. And today, we are really excited to share with you a captivating interview that we did with UCF horn professor and my fellow Advisory Council member, Benjamin Leeser.
Yeah, I was just telling you before we started recording, Ben was such a fun conversation to have. He just got such an easygoing personality, but don't let that fool you. I mean, his career has taken him all over the place. Yeah. And he's done a little bit of everything at a really high level. He's done a lot of professional playing. He's worked in the public schools as a band director. He's done, you were talking about, sort of the road warrior thing, being the adjunct and having another job and playing in all these groups and stuff. So I think there's a lot for just about everyone to be found in this episode with Benjamin Leeser. All right. Well, Ben, thanks so much for joining us today. We're really excited to talk to you. You just had an event in Florida with Kate, our co-host, as your guest artist. So we'll certainly get to that at some point, the Florida French Horn Festival or Florida Horn Festival. But we always give our guests a chance to just give us a bit of a thumbnail sketch, a little bit of a brief overview of who they are and what they're doing currently on the horn. So you want to take it away, Ben?
Sure. Well, hello, everybody. Benjamin Leeser. I live in Orlando, Florida. I teach at the University of Central Florida. And I'm actually a Florida native. I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida. And I guess to speak about my early career, my parents were very smart in getting me started in some piano lessons early. I had some really great music lessons as a young choir student. The music teacher in the elementary school definitely developed that love for music very, very early. And also at the school, I had an opportunity to start band in the 5th grade. And I'm sure commonly, like a few horn players, I started out on the trumpet, but that was mostly because the horn wasn't offered to me, I later discovered. And I played trumpet for a number of years, and I just enjoyed that. I guess being around other friends that were in the band class as well. They were also the same students that would be in my classes otherwise with me. So we would all be going from class to class to class. It was probably 7th grade or just before 7th grade that I saw the horn for the first time at probably an event at my church. They were probably doing a Christmas program, or I'm not 100% sure, but I spotted the instrument. And I was like, whoa, that really looks cool. I want to go check that out. So I instantly went to my band director that year, I believe in 6th grade, and he was like, "Oh no, you'll be so much better on trumpet. You should stay on trumpet." So I was like, "Okay." So he left the end of that year, and the next guy comes in, and I say, "Okay, I want to play horn. Can I try playing horn?" And that band director was overjoyed because there was maybe one other horn player in the high school, and he was glad that another horn player would be in the program.
It's kind of like going to mom. Mom says no. Go ask dad. Dad says yes.
Yeah, you're the new person. Let me ask you. So I guess the rest is sort of history because I went to the horn. I think part of it was I knew there was a little less competition, or it was a little more original, something different to do. So that was a lot of my interest. And then luckily, because we just didn't have a ton of those instruments at the school, some newer instruments showed up, and that was very handy to have as a young student, getting some new equipment, things that weren't, beat up. So that was very good. And being in Florida, I grew up through the Florida Bandmasters Association system, which is a very, very strong program. I participated in solo and ensemble events. I started doing solos when I was doing piano anyway. So naturally, doing it on the horn didn't feel foreign to me. It felt like a natural, okay, well, this is what I do with piano, so I'm going to do this on horn as well. And had a great time with that. I ran into Bill Robinson, one state solo. No, it wasn't Bill. Bill was also one of my judges. First of all, Dean Cassels. I don't know if either of you know that name. Dean Cassels was actually a school student with Bill Capps at some point, and he noticed at some point that Bill was a much better player than he was, and Dean decided to pursue music education. But still, Dean was a horn player himself. But Dean heard me play at either district or state solo ensemble, and he says to me, "There's this horn teacher in Tallahassee. You need to go meet." And he introduced me to Bill Capps probably around my junior year of high school. And then that's when I really started taking some private lessons with someone other than whoever I could find around. And it was usually a trumpet player I could find to teach a horn lesson to me. And it was mostly music lessons. But around my junior, senior year, started taking private lessons, got involved with the Tallahassee Symphony Youth Orchestra. And I was kind of even thinking about that yesterday because I went to the Florida Youth Symphony Orchestra concert yesterday evening to see some of my students playing in that. And there were two different levels of the orchestra that played yesterday. And the friend that I was sitting with asked me after the first group played, which is a younger group, so they're not going to be as far along as the upper group. And she asked me, well, what'd you think about that? And I said, to be honest, it's at least as good as a lot of youth orchestras around the country, that second group, especially when you're talking about the number of students that were in that group. And they were doing Mars from the Planets, that group was playing. And I thought they did a really great job.
I wish I got to play that in youth orchestra.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I was sitting there thinking. And, some opportunities that kids are getting these days are almost a little further along than where we were at their age, or at least me. I can at least speak for myself in Tallahassee. So then coming back to myself, since I was in Tallahassee and I had gone to FSU summer music camp every summer, it was a natural thing for me to want to go to Florida State and study with Bill. Met Michelle Stebleton while I was there as well. And I enjoyed that time at Florida State. I feel like I did well. It's funny talking to Michelle. She remembers a point at which during my time at Florida State, I just came back one summer and all of a sudden she says I could just play. And I think it's like that for a lot of horn students. They're kind of, they know which end to blow in, they sound good, and then all of a sudden all that latent potential shows up.
You hit the exponential part of the curve.
Something clicks.
I think a lot of that was in between my summer. I went and spent time with Randall Faust up at Interlochen.
Okay.
Because I had met Randy because Bill had pushed me to do the International Horn Competition in America, or it was known as American Horn Competition back then. But I had met Randy, and Randy talked about Interlochen and doing that a summer. And so I kept playing during the summer, and I didn't know what kind of impact that was going to have on me going into my senior year at Florida State. Then I feel I got very lucky, got to spend some time with Randy Gardner doing my a master's degree at Cincinnati. Following Cincinnati, there was an opportunity for me to go down to Mexico City, and I played in the Afunam Orchestra in Mexico City. And I did that for about a year. I came back to the States because I think I was personally just worried about getting trapped there. I think that was manufactured in my mind and not a real thing, but got to do some really great performances and feel what it was like to work in the business and changing repertoire every week, different music conductors in front of us each week was a very fun and exciting thing. And I was definitely well prepared to do those things. Coming back to the States, did do some auditions. I ended up teaching band for a number of years, and then developing a freelance sort of persona and playing some with some orchestras in Jacksonville, then Orlando, and then kind of all over the place. I think Kate knows what that's like in Florida, driving up and down the road. And we're very fortunate that there are so many small orchestras, and you can stay very, very busy. But definitely a lot of wear and tear on the tires there, back and forth. But I think I developed my love for teaching, or my I guess took away some of my fears of teaching by having to do it. Rather than in school, because I had started out as a music ed major, and I was like, no, I don't think that's for me. I kind of went a different direction, but then I found myself in there. And fortunately, because my parents were teachers, I think I drew on some of their personalities, as well as the personalities of some of my best teachers that I had, whether they be conductors or whatever class that they taught. It went okay. I felt like I was good at explaining things and communicating things to students, even though that first year was difficult being a professional musician, now talking to beginners and middle school students who were not on the same level whatsoever. So trying to figure out how to communicate to them was a little tricky, plus classroom management, right?
Right. Was this in Tallahassee that you came back to after Mexico?
No, I actually taught over in Jacksonville. I taught at a private school in Jacksonville for about a year, and then I moved into the public school system in Jacksonville for a year. And then while I was there in Jacksonville, I met what would be my wife, Kim, and she's an oboist, and she was teaching north of Jacksonville. And that FBA district does a lot of events together. And that's when I started playing with the First Coast Wind Ensemble up there. And I met her former band director and just got to know her. Then Kim introduced me to her college band director, Bobby Adams. And he had started this sort of, it was a wind ensemble, a wind band. It's called the Southern Winds. And Kim said, come on down, come play with us, come see how you like it. It'd be something fun to do. And, didn't have anything else going on. So I went down, played for that. This group always plays for FBA Summer Convention. It also plays for the Hall of Fame, Roll of Distinction, which is really important in the state of Florida. And it honors both high school, middle school band directors, as well as college band directors in the state of Florida. And when I showed up that day, just started playing in the group, and I said, hey, Kim, it'd be really cool if Stetson happened to have a horn opening. That'd be a lot of fun. I wouldn't mind teaching that age. And come to find out, they were looking for somebody. So I was in the right place at the right time. And I ended up getting to teach adjunct, to get my first adjunct job at Stetson University. And while I was there, it worked out that there happened to be a part-time middle school band director job. So that's how the full-time kind of pay worked out, even though I'll tell you what, part-time middle school band directing is no such thing.
Right.
So even though I was only there a certain amount of time, it was a lot to balance between the two of those things, plus doing some freelancing all at the same time. So that definitely opened up my eyes to academia, college teaching that age, and getting to teach the horn and being around in that level of things. And that was really interesting to me. And about 4 or 5 years into that is when I decided, okay, I need to go back, get my terminal degree, because there wasn't going to be a path forward for me as an adjunct at that university. So I knew I needed to do something to see if either that university might open up something or maybe somewhere else might. That would give me a career that had advancement moving forward. Because I'd been sort of successful in the audition realm, had either made finals or was runner up. It was really, really close. So I knew I had most of what I needed, just not the job yet. And I didn't mind teaching because the best part about teaching is I have a little bit more control. The thing that I learned my first month on the job in Mexico was it's not about me anymore. Even though I might have a solo here or there, the person up on the podium gets to make all those decisions. And that was one thing I discovered quickly about teaching is I kind of liked making a few decisions and driving the bus. And so after I was at Stetson for a bit, I went back to Florida State and started my DMA or DM and with Michelle Stebleton. And it was really the perfect fit. It was the right thing at the right time. By then, I had kind of moved away from Stetson, and I was teaching full time at another small private school and doing some band stuff and then freelancing. So that was all kind of balancing things together. Yeah, absolutely. And then just finishing up writing the document, which took a little bit of time because, I was teaching and working and by then married and starting a family too. But I guess in a way I got lucky. Sometimes you look back at the jobs you don't get and you're like, oh man, that's too bad. I wonder what life would have been like. And then you have the job that you do have and you're like, wow, I'm so lucky that I have the job that I do have right now because of all the opportunities that have opened up for there. But I was in Orlando, Johnny Farrago, his wife had some health issues and she passed, and Johnny decided to take a leave of absence and then decided to retire. And some of the faculty at UCF had already known me because of my freelance work, and they were cool with letting me come in and teach adjunct. And then it worked out during the national search that I was hired for the job, and now I get to teach some really great students at a fantastic institution, and just trying to keep things rolling and growing and keep it exciting and keep it new for those students, and still keep playing and inspire those students to do some other things.
Yeah, you said you just did 2 performances of Beethoven 9 on Fourth. So yeah, and I've personally heard you play and you sound fantastic. So it strikes me. So there was a lot in your answer, and I'm trying to pare my thoughts down to some some follow-up questions. But so I guess the first one, Ben, is so at that point where you were deciding, college and then majoring in music, did you have any idea of like the kind of career you thought you might like to pursue, or you just knew you wanted to go to college for music and then kind of wherever the path led you? Did you have any kind of other career options you were thinking about? If not music, was there something else that attracted you as well?
Yeah, I definitely was interested. And I think it always was a little bit late to the game with music. Like, oh, well, this is fun. Let me just keep doing this because I seem to be good at it. So let me just keep rolling with this. And at one point, I did start out college trying to do both music and engineering. And it was Calc 1 that helped make my decision. Not that I was so bad at it, but I got a shame on me. I got a B in Calc 1, right? And all of a sudden, thinking in 3D was just a new step for me. And homework started taking much longer. Mm-hmm. And I just decided, okay, maybe I'll just do this for now. And if I want to change later, I can change later. But thank goodness I haven't had to reverse course and go another direction. So, but
knowing what that undergrad curriculum looks like at FSU for a music major, I can't imagine trying to throw calculus in on top of it.
I don't know what I was thinking.
How'd you get time to sleep with all that?
I don't know. I was taking mostly the prerequisite stuff. I didn't even really get into probably what it would have taken to do all those engineering courses at all. My interest was when I was younger, I had a lot of love for the kinetic energy that's hosted within roller coasters. And I wanted to go work for a company and build roller coasters because that sounded like a lot of fun. I just wanted to be part of a team that gave that excitement and entertainment.
And that's why you live in Orlando now, right?
Sure. I am fortunate. I'm glad my kids like roller coasters because, otherwise what would be the use?
That's amazing though. Like the arc of like fate as it were to
I
got
know.
Universal Studios and Disney World right there, and all this started.
And
had a love of roller coasters.
Yeah,
that's
and then
incredible.
Really Legoland's but an hour and a half away.
So you've really had like such a cyclical Florida man experience, getting to live in three very different parts of the states. For those people who aren't familiar with Florida, like North Florida and South Florida and Central Florida are all really different. But also getting to dip your fingers into the performance pot and the band director pot and the college teaching pot. So I know on our docket is to talk about your teaching philosophy, but I'd love to know if you feel like you have three big pulls from those experiences in the way that you approach your students, or how you see that showing itself in your day-to-day teaching work.
So, I am very fortunate in the fact that teaching band allows me to kind of talk to my applied students who are music ed students about the necessity of certain things that I'm teaching them. One of those things being transposition, because they start off like, oh, this is really hard. And I go, have you looked at a score? Like when you're going to go have to teach? And you're probably, unless you want to plan to play all the instruments for the students, you could simply just pick up one and just play all their parts on that and know what you're doing. And if you can just transpose real quick, then you can do it on the fly, and then you don't have to work so hard preparing. It takes some of them a little while to come around, but they kind of see what's going on. And then I'm fortunate I still get to do the same performing. So the more performance-oriented students are able to come and see those performances. I still wish there were more student pricing in the area, but it's just hard because the buildings are new and they're expensive to run, and so it's hard for students to always afford to go to those concerts. But then I do talk about the opportunities that I've learned of, not only just being in Mexico, but now starting to develop some friendships, particularly through the IHS, but just the different opportunities that have popped up. I talk to my students about, well, what about the opportunity of studying in Europe versus a graduate school? And sometimes they look at me and you can tell their brains are fantasizing wild things that could happen. And then they get real nervous too, because they're going, oh, that's another country. But yeah, it has given me at least an opportunity to say, well, I've been there, I've done this, it's not as scary, or this is how you get ready for this.
Yeah, or even it is that scary, but you can do it anyways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and the other thing that strikes me in, thinking back on, your trajectory to where you are and all the different experiences you've had, you must have had to develop a super efficient practice routine. And there's no letting off the gas, right? If you have a family and then the work obligations continue to come, there's this myth of like, once you get tenure, now you can relax and not do anything. It's like most of the people I know that are tenured in places, they're just working just as hard, if not harder, maybe in different areas. But it's like, all this is to say, like, you must have quite early on figured out, like, well, this is how to get done what I need to get done and not take all day to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to happen. The first part of the day for me, it's got to happen within 30 minutes to an hour. And I really don't get a lot of time to just sit and work and practice. I kind of think back to that time in my DMA, how amazing it was to all of a sudden have practice time uninterrupted. And especially right now, in my with homeschooling happening at the house, everybody's at the house all the time. So not being interrupted at home while trying to do any work, it just doesn't happen.
No.
And I try to give my wife enough time, because not only interrupted, but there's oboe lessons happening at the house. The piano teacher comes to the house, so that's not too bad. And my kids are okay if I play while they're playing piano. So those are already really great skills. Sometimes I hear some young students, they'll be playing, and if you start playing something else while they're playing, they have to stop. Mm-hmm. So, right. So I'm really excited about what my kids are starting to develop in that ability to stay focused, even amongst the distractions happening at the house. And by the way, now we've just added a dog to the house.
Why not?
It wasn't busy enough already.
Oh, man, it doesn't stop. So, yeah. And the 3-year-old singing at the top of his lungs. It's great. So
I was also thinking, like, kind of tying back into this sort of idea of teaching philosophy and approaches to teaching. I think, Kate, we were talking about this when we were talking to Liz Frymouth about how distracting the world is now with so many things. And, we've probably all noticed this with the various young people we work with. They get distracted very easily. Yeah, exactly. And do you have an approach to sort of helping them learn to focus or learn to refocus despite all of the distractions going on in the world?
Well, one of the things that's happened this year that I'm excited about is that I'm seeing more students showing up to their lessons with digital devices, iPads or whatever, with their music. So that's easier for them to not forget anything. Mm-hmm. One thing I'm going to start next year is they have to have their device charged at a minimum of 50%, because I've had a few show up with like 2%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, no. And then they ask me if they can borrow my charger.
I've seen people show up to gigs with an iPad on 2%, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Oh, I'll put it on airplane mode. It'll be fine. Or low battery or whatever.
You see the portable charger on the stand with the cable plugged in.
Yeah. Oh, I have an emergency one just in case. Yeah. There's probably a new iPad in my future, because those batteries don't last forever. Mm-hmm. I try to encourage the students to make sure they utilize the do not disturb function on their devices. I think they're more aware of it now than maybe a few years ago. I used to have a lot more disruptions with their phones pinging or whatever. So usually by the first or second lesson that happens, and they're like, oh, I need to do this. And it gets them trained. And they're younger now, so they're getting used to doing that sort of activity. So it hasn't really been a huge impact. I think the bigger impact is training them to use that while they're in the practice room, right? And I can't always be there and be like, just turn that off so you're not distracted. Because I have to deal with the distractions that are coming in even right now. As
email after email. Yep.
I'm getting an email. I just got one from Susan. Today's the due date for the extension. May 11th is the extension. We put on a couple of awards that I help out with the AC. And I'm seeing a couple of those emails pop in as I sit here. So yeah, that is the thing is the distractions that they're facing. But when I see the students being really successful, that's when they're finally able to get rid of those distractions and being able to focus. But I think that just comes with time, and that's a natural part of the learning process. And I think the reason we just see it later is just it's potential that students just develop a little bit later, and everybody develops on a different rate. We want to expect everybody's a carbon copy of something, but we have to make sure that that people have the opportunity somewhat to learn at the pace that they need to learn at. So.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a teaching philosophy right there. So. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and it's also interesting, so much teaching also happens not just like in a formal setting, like I'm telling you something, try this thing, see if it works, but they're just watching your career and seeing all of the things you have done and seeing that, oh, it is possible to be a public school teacher and to play well. Because that's sometimes I hate to see music educators hang it up, and some of them do. And it's troubling to me that sometimes happens, that, well, you got into this because you loved playing your instrument or singing in the choir or whatever. And now because you're an educator full time, you're not going to have time or find time or make time to do that thing that got you into this in the first place.
Well, yeah, I 100% agree with you there. There's always that little bit of culture that you have to fight. Because sometimes students believe once they finish their undergraduate recital, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to worry about it.
Done.
There has been a number of good little ensembles pop up in Central Florida that are either wind bands that kind of foster that opportunity for music teachers to keep playing. Or there's that Southern Winds group that happens up at DeLand that pulls in a few band directors. So that's really, really great. And then Central Florida Community Arts has this monstrosity of an orchestra. I have a student, and I know some parents that are in that, and there's like 20 or 25 horns. And
oh my God.
Yeah, like I said, it's a monstrosity.
The super orchestra.
But it's so they can all just get together and have a place. Yep. Because as much as they might want to go hear music, there's still enough people that still want to just play and they just want to participate.
Ben, we were briefly talking about some of the ways that you're contributing to the IHS, namely being the scholarship opportunities that you're supervising the applications for. And I also know that you are a member of the Advisory Council, which is part of why we're having this conversation today. Could you tell us about why you feel it is important to be involved in the IHS and the ways that the IHS has been important in your life and in your horn playing career?
Okay. Well, let's start with how it's been important to me. I became a member, I want to say, probably in 95 during my undergraduate. I was very lucky growing up in Tallahassee. The IHS symposium came to me in 1993. Around that time, I think I had taken a lesson or so with Dr. Capps, and it was really all just fantastic and new to me. And I don't think I even knew what was going on. I just knew there was a big horn concert going on in Tallahassee, and I wanted to be there because I was a horn player and I wanted to check that out. And at some point, I was standing there talking to Dr. Capps, and I didn't even know Barry Tuckwell was standing next to me because, I knew names,
Yeah, who
but
would you know?
we didn't have YouTube. I didn't grow up watching people play on my computer. I listened to people, and I may have seen a picture, but they
Yeah.
would have looked different in person versus their photograph that was professionally edited or whatever. And that was my first time meeting Barry Tuckwell, smoking a cigar, of course. And I became a member because to me that's what you did. You were a horn player. You should be a part of this community. You should be part of the connection that the IHS had to offer. And today we're talking about distractions, and I think that's the biggest thing we are challenged with is keeping that connection there with everybody while everybody's so distracted by the other things they could possibly check out. And I hope that there is a further growing of it because I do have some younger students, high school students, are like, oh, I'm a horn player. I should be a part of this. This sounds really, really interesting to me.
Mhm.
And it's also why I keep doing this little horn festival thing in Orlando to keep that
Build community.
community happening. I mean, I wasn't the one that started it up, but it keeps that happening and kind of fosters, why are we here? Why are we doing these things? Because, the people that come to that event don't necessarily go to the Southeast Horn Workshop because it's a different,
Yeah.
audience. They don't go to the international because it's usually too far for them or too costly, or they just don't have that amount of time. But I feel it's important for us to constantly be able to share the ideas and concepts. I as a teacher, I've been able to open up the horn call and go, oh, that's a really good idea, and try it with my students. And I may not deliver it the same way that author was talking about, but I might have a different way of approaching it, and it keeps, especially studio class in applied lessons, a little more fresh when not every day is, okay, let's take out it's your turn to play cling. Here
Right.
we go. Or it's your turn to play this. All right. You
So
didn't
you're
have a
saying that you
piano.
find the publications are providing you access to knowledge and opinions and information that otherwise wouldn't make it into your classroom.
Absolutely. And it keeps it just those ideas are fresh, right? Because I think it's really easy as a teacher to kind of get bogged down with everything that you're managing and just kind of also in a way show up. And as much as you want it to be engaging every week, you're like, oh, what can I do different? It just life gets a little bit busy. 3 kids playing this, doing that. All the other extra students around can make it a little bit of a little challenging to do those things. But I've been excited to be part of the advisory council, not because I want to sit there and advise so much, but because the opportunity to serve an organization that I feel has done a lot for me. I've never won any of the awards as a younger student, but going to the Horn Symposium as a young student and being around that and just starting to be connected with more people has been a really important part of who I am as an educator and as a horn player. And you know, it's just been really enjoyable fit that part of me that enjoys being a servant and enjoys helping out. And again, sort of being in charge of some stuff, like when it comes to the scholarships, being able to go, okay, let's do this, let's go this direction with it. Okay, or working collaboratively with some other people on the different awards and scholarships that we have for students.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe do another, like a plug for those? Because I feel like that's something that obviously you're doing a good job getting the word out, but I think even more people could stand to know about these opportunities, because some of them, all you have to do is apply.
Amazing.
Yeah, you just apply, you write an essay to get your hat in the ring, so to speak, for potential monetary awards or, travel to a symposium or something like that. If there's anything you want to share with our listeners about, the various scholarship programs the IHS runs.
Yeah, we have two very big monetary awards, one a little bit larger than the other, but the one that usually comes up early is the Barry Tuckwell Award, and that gives the recipient will get, I believe it's $500 that helps them go to either an IHS symposium, or maybe it's a summer festival that they want to attend. It's not necessarily tied to an IHS event. Now, the only stipulation for any of our awards is that the students do need to be members of the IHS in order to win these awards. However, if you win the award, usually it comes with an extension,
a year of membership.
So it's definitely worth the opportunity to apply. And I'm always kind of shocked that we don't have more students applying. I don't know if it just gets lost in the hustle and bustle. And I'm trying to see what I can do to make sure those awards are known or that they're happening. So we're working to make sure that they're as promoted on the website, as promoted on social media as possible. And I know that they pop up on the newsletter that goes out that Mike does, so that's always reminded. And then the other larger award is the Hawkins Award, John Hawkins Award. And that one's, I want to say, it's a little over $1,000, maybe $1,400, $1,500. So that one was due, or is due today. So probably by the time this podcast comes out,
it will have closed.
Today won't matter.
But for next time, for next cycle, because these are annual.
That's usually due near the end of April or early April. This year we extended it to May because I thought that would be fine. But we have to be able to, people have got to look through the materials. I try to get advisory council members or other academia friends of mine to help look through and judge on this and coordinate that so that those awards get given. The only thing I don't want to see is those awards just sit there.
Yeah, you don't want to leave money on the table, especially if you're a student. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the reason to extend it, just to see if we could get a few more applications. The other ones are more performance-based, and that's the Premier Soloist. That one does have to be due at a certain time, and we're going to have 3 finalists this year at the symposium in Krakow. So I'm very excited about that. Since I unfortunately can't be in Krakow, Lisa Bontrager is going to cover for me and help with the organization at IHS. And Nancy Joy has been awesome communicating between Wojciech and myself. So I think we've about nailed down what day that's going to happen. So I need to reach out to those finalists and help them. But that's another opportunity for this money that is set aside every year for students to compete and win for. It's just a great opportunity for them.
That's awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also some scholarship opportunity that provides access to lessons with advisory council members and a couple people who aren't advisory council members sometimes, I think, right?
Correct. So there's 2 other ones, and without looking on the website right this second, there's the Mansour and the Hatfield Awards. There's not a monetary amount that goes along with them, but the opportunity to work with a mentor will come out of those awards, and those can be very, very valuable. Some of them are specifically geared towards music education students, and just the opportunity to have another sounding board is huge for some students. A lot of that just it takes our colleagues at other institutions just telling their students about, hey, apply for this. You never know what's going to happen, and it's there. And all they got to do is be a member of the society to be able to apply for those. The other one that we're developing in there is even more unique. The Barbara Chenworth project is coming out, and that one is a lot more geared towards amateur horn players and helping amateur horn players get to one of the symposium, which is a huge opportunity. And Marilyn Kloss is doing a fantastic job leading that up, and we're really close to having that ready to roll out, hopefully for this next year.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because that is such a huge part of IHS membership, is the enthusiast player who has, they make their living doing something else, but that they may really just love the instrument and love the community, as we've talked about, and just enjoy playing the instrument.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for chatting with us today, Ben. Is there anything else we've neglected to cover, or does that feel like we've gotten?
I think you may have hit all. Let me look at my little notes and see what. For any of the people that have been to the Florida Horn Festival before, next year's date is April 3rd. That's still going to be a Saturday, but it's going to be April 3rd. And we have a little website that you can follow, FloridaHornFest.com or .org. I can't remember right this second.
I'll put that in the thing. Yeah.
I keep typing it, and it usually pops up, so I forget what the last three letters always are. But information will be there, as well as a link to purchase the tickets for that. And we'll announce our guest as soon as we have that all taken care of.
Awesome. It's FloridaHornFest.com. So
okay.
that will go in the episode highlights.
Yes.
Great. Well, thanks so much for speaking with us today. Hope you have a great rest of the day and an awesome summer.
Thank you so much.
The Horn Call Podcast is the official podcast of the International Horn Society. The views, information, or opinions expressed during this series are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the International Horn Society. Copyright International Horn Society. Music by Brian K.M.